There's nothing I love more than to harvest the world's tastiest root crop straight from my garden. That's right, I'm talking carrots. And I've been picking these beauties this week, last week, and probably into next week too. But I'm also still planting them. From those tiny seeds to the monster taproot that they eventually become, carrots are a wonder for all ages. With taste that can be considered candy-like when picked from your own garden, coupled with the fact that they're super easy to grow, even in simple container setups like this, means that when it comes to growing some epic carrots, nobody should be left behind. Today, we'll cover the germination, growth, environmental requirements, and of course that harvest of all types of carrots in all types of setups. Buckle up, because we got a lot to cover. And with summer still hanging on, some of our best carrot harvests for the year haven't even been planted yet. There's 4 main types of carrots, not including the minis. Chantenay, Danvers, Imperator, and Nantes. And these guys are all grown virtually the same way, with slight differences in shape and harvest times. Despite being very low maintenance, carrots do need our attention twice during their lifespan. Once during the initial germination, which can take upwards of 2 weeks or more, and then again a few weeks later when we thin them. We'll cover those in a bit, but first, let's look at what carrots need to grow and perform their best. Being tiny seeds that are mass planted, carrots are almost always direct seeded. The right soil and the right location can make all the difference, so let's start there. As a straight up and down elongated taproot, right off the bat, carrots need a loose soil to even grow properly. Heavy, compacted earth, as well as impediments such as stones and debris, are going to cause forking and other irregularities with your harvest. Honestly, the trick to growing the best carrots is a soft, airy, well-drained soil that's high in organic matter, neutral to slightly acidic pH, and moderately rich in nutrients. And although that nutrient part is not often talked about, it's actually pretty key. Amazingly, despite the level of production that I get with this crop, I almost never fertilize my carrots. You see, the idea is that you want your carrots to grow and go looking for their nutrients, and they do this by developing that taproot. I know it sounds backwards, but less nutrients can actually mean bigger carrots. On top of that, excessive nutrition produces what we call hairy carrots, which are not nearly as desirable as the clean ones. So, a sandy, loose, well-drained soil works the best for these guys. Really, just your typical garden soils that have been worked in and planted over the years are going to be great candidates for growing some carrots. As are the generic potting soils if you're going the container route. In the end, as long as you're not growing on concrete or completely compacted clay, you can be successful with carrots. For the actual planting, we're often reminded that carrots are considered a cool weather crop. But most certainly, that theory can be tested and pushed to the limits. It's August now, which is historically my region's hottest month of the year. These guys here have been through 2 heat waves, and they're still as crunchy and sweet as ever. In my opinion, carrots can take the cold, yes, but once established, they'll grow just fine in a wide range of temperatures. For actual germination though, temperature really is key, as carrots can take a notoriously long time to sprout. It's simple. The warmer it is, the faster they get going. Cold, early spring plantings can see upwards of 3 weeks plus before you notice anything popping up. Planting right now for a fall harvest is brilliant because the carrots are going to germinate quickly. And not only that, the germination rates are going to be high. The only problem is carrots are planted extremely shallow, like half an inch deep or less, right at the surface. No doubt you'll notice that in this summer heat, the top layers of soil dry out almost instantly, which can be super dangerous if not fatal for young seeds that are just popping out their first roots and shoots. So, as a solution, we must mulch or cover that soil at least until the seeds get established. It's a tiny nuisance, sure, but one that cannot be neglected. You can easily fry those seeds in a day if you're not careful. The actual seeding of the carrots is really easy, but I do like to prep the area before I get going. My target area for this batch of carrots is my old lettuce bed. Carrots are perfect for no-till planting, so I'll just cut these plants down right at the root collar and plant on top of them. There we go. Couple minutes and we're all cleaned up. Just need some extra soil and then we can get planting. A nice 4-inch wide, flat, moist surface is the ideal landing pad for a row of carrot seeds. I just use regular potting mix, but even some sifted compost mixed with your garden soil works great too. Tamp it down to make sure that it's all even so that your carrots start out as uniform as possible. Now, if you're growing in containers, the concept is the exact same. Just fill up your pot right to the top with a quality potting mix and you're good to go. Lastly, give that pad a good soaking to provide the ideal environment for the carrot seeds to get going. Trust me, it's important to water the soil before planting, as after, you'll quite likely simply wash those seeds away. Once ready, spread those seeds by hand, trying to be as even as possible. After your row or rows are fully seeded, cover them up with a skim coating of soil to that 1/2-inch planting depth, and then cover with another skim coating of mulch. Water thoroughly to keep that top layer moist, and your carrots are now fully planted. If it's the summer, water daily if you have to, and if it's the cooler days of spring, well, you might not have to worry so much. Even though they take their sweet time to sprout, once they do, carrots grow surprisingly fast. And as they grow, we come up to that second bit of maintenance that we talked about earlier, thinning. Thinning carrots, like beets, radishes, and other mass-seeded crops, is a necessary process to give the plants the space they need to grow properly. Left like this to grow unchecked and all clumped together, your carrots are never going to grow as large as they should, seriously putting a dent in your production. Luckily for us, thinning is a process that is super easy. Typically, when the plants reach about 4 inches in height, we can start removing the smallest carrots, giving those bigger ones about 1 inch space on each side. Simple stuff, and it only takes a few minutes per row to accomplish. What I like to do, however, is let the carrots grow out a little bit larger, big enough that I can actually get baby carrots from them. This way, I'm selectively harvesting while simultaneously thinning in the process. Basically, what I call harvest to thin. Works brilliantly, and in this way, no carrots ever get wasted. I do take out the small runty ones as they're probably not going to amount to anything, but all other ones are fair game. I find that this not only gives me a larger harvest overall per area used, but also spreads out the harvest over many weeks so that I always have a fresh supply of carrots and that none ever go to waste just hanging out in the fridge. Outside of that thinning, watering is the only other piece of maintenance that we have to do with our carrots. And in the fringe seasons of spring and fall, even that can be pretty minimal. As with most things though, that's going to be entirely dependent on what zone you're growing in, the weather, and your climate. Carrots do like a somewhat moist soil, but never saturated and never standing in water. Bone dry is also not desirable, but these guys are literally a taproot that's designed to look for and store water. So, As long as the foliage is not actively wilting, you're probably giving your carrots enough water. And I can't stress it enough, drainage, especially with those container carrots, is key. Okay, like we mentioned before, you really want to go light on the fertilizer. The point to take home here is that you need to watch the nitrogen. With carrots, you always want your fertilizer to be higher in phosphorus and potassium, which are the second two of the three numbers on the label of your fertilizer. If your soil is good, you can get away without feeding. But if you think you need some supplementation, feed your carrots when they're about 4 inches tall, right around that first thinning. Now, if your soil is really deficient, you can go ahead and fertilize again when those shoots are about 9 to 10 inches tall. Really, carrots are pretty non-demanding when it comes to the nutrients. Carrots are awesome in that they can be harvested at any time. Early for the baby ones, midway for the half size, and all the way to full grown. That's the beauty of carrots. There's simply no ripeness to wait for. But if you are overloaded with them, the best way to preserve them is to leave them growing in the soil. For the home gardener, this is awesome because it only requires you to pull up what you need when you need it without wastage. However, it doesn't last forever, and carrots can definitely overstay their welcome. Once those tops reach 12 inches tall or higher, and the taproots are greater than 1 inch in diameter, all your carrots should be harvested. Loosen the ground around the roots to make them easier to pull up. That way, those green tops won't pop off. But at the same time, also be careful not to damage the carrots themselves, because if they get bruised, scratched, or cracked, they simply won't store. Speaking of, for storage, there's a ton of options. Removing the greens and leaving the carrots unpeeled, though, is universal. Also, don't forget that those green tops are completely edible, so don't just throw them away. In fact, we don't hear about it too much, so if you've got a great recipe for carrot tops, throw it in the comments down below. Kept sealed in a bag in your crisper, carrots are going to last easily a month. Some people will even put them in a tub of water and then stick them in the fridge, extending that storage even further. Beyond that, you're looking at root cellar storage. And if you can keep them away from apples and other ripening fruit, keep them dark, keep them cool, well, carrots can last for up to 5+ months. Freezing is also an option if you have the space, but I find that once carrots are frozen, well, you can never go back to eating them raw again, only cooked. This is why I love the gradual and continual harvest so much, because they make my storage concerns so minimal. What isn't minimal, however, is all the info that we just covered. Let's go ahead and recap those main points so that it all makes sense. As a root crop staple, carrot seeds are cheap to buy and even easier to grow. Sown throughout the year in all but the coldest winter months, carrots enjoy a loose, well-drained, neutral pH soil that's high in organic matter and only moderate on the nutrients. Sow the seeds heavily around 1 inch deep in rows that are about 1 foot apart. Carrot seeds can take a long time to sprout in those cooler days of fall and spring, so patience is required. In the heat of summer, however, carrot seeds sprout fast. But you gotta be careful, as that soil can dry out equally as quick, killing those seedlings in no time flat. Once sprouted, carrots grow pretty fast, and usually at around 4 inches tall, you can start to thin them. We do this to give the final crop the space it needs to grow properly. For me though, I do like to delay the harvest a little bit longer so that I can start with some baby carrots. By picking and eating these right away, I simultaneously get a small harvest while also thinning the patch. I call this process harvesting to thin. Once your carrots have reached about 10 to 12 inches tall and those taproots are about an inch in diameter, you can harvest them entirely. Always keep your carrots well watered, but never soggy. Remove the tops, but don't peel those skins, and your carrots can store for a surprisingly long time. In the end, keep your carrots well watered, but never soggy, and you can easily get 2 to 3 plantings of them every year. What an amazing, low maintenance crop. Carrots are no doubt my favorite root crop. Once you get past that germination stage, properly thin them, it's pretty much smooth sailing for these guys all the way to harvest. Hopefully today, with all the tips that we've discussed, you're well on your way to your best carrot year yet. Hey, happy growing guys, and I'll see you soon. Hey, thanks so much for watching guys. I appreciate the support more than you know. And if you're getting value from these videos, please like and share them to spread the word and help your fellow gardener to grow better.